Okay, everybody, it's me, Gregory Mannarino. It is Wednesday, March 11th, 2020. Mark this day as another day in history. The Dow Jones Industrial Average, for the first time in 11 years, is now officially in a bear market. We lost 20% off the high. So, unless this turns around and quickly, we all knew this was coming, but it looks like we are here now. Technically, we're in a bear market. First time in 11 years. Now, we made history in more ways than one, and I have a lot of stuff to talk with you about here. And I'm also going to explain to you something that there are a lot of YouTube channels talking about for the longest time, and that is ending the Fed. I'm going to demonstrate for you how the president today, right now, could end the Fed immediately. But it won't happen, and that's very sad. So bear with me here. Let's talk about this market. Stocks got decimated. Dow Jones Industrial Average fell almost 1,500 points. We completely erased yesterday's gains and then some. The fact that this market ended near the lows of the day is very bearish to me, especially in light of what we found out. There's a lot of talk about stimulus. Yesterday, we heard from the president. He explained healthcare, the airlines, cruise lines were all going to get government assistance, bailouts. Today, he spoke about the shale industry getting a bailout or government assistance. You have industry after industry right now looking for government help, government funds, a public bailout. It gets much, much worse than that. Pay attention to what I'm about to say here. Steve Mnuchin came out today explaining that as part of the government getting involved here, helping multinational corporations, I want you to think about this, multinational corporations, the government is going to be guaranteeing loans. Okay, that's exactly how he worded it, and I want to show you what he's actually saying because there's something hidden in this, and it's in your face. Mnuchin said the government will guarantee loans to these corporations. So what is he actually talking about? If he were to say the government or you, the American people, will guarantee losses, you would be upset. But the fact that it's worded in a specific way keeps the true meaning hidden. So Mnuchin saying again that the U.S. government will guarantee loans is the same thing as saying will guarantee losses, which is what? A credit default swap. Most people have no idea what a credit default swap is. And I'm not going to tell you because I want you to do your own research to see that I am telling you the truth. Steve Mnuchin, by guaranteeing loans, let me ask you this. Why are we the people being forced yet again to guarantee losses? I don't understand that. Again, unless there's a much bigger, darker, hideous agenda here, which plays right into what the Federal Reserve has been doing for decades upon decades upon decades. We're gonna talk more about that towards the end here. So the fact that this market today finished at the lows of the day, very close to the lows of the day, when we got yesterday the president talking about government bailouts for several industries. Today, shale industry, Mnuchin talking about guaranteed loans. He's going to guarantee that they don't take losses. This is a credit default swap. Same thing that brought the world to its knees. The last meltdown. What happened to too big to fail? No, you see, they're going to suck it right out of your skull, just like they did last time. There's something else that's being set up. You all know what that is. And it's pretty incredible. Now, I want to talk about something else very important. The yield curve. The yield curve came up today. Now, we all know we haven't even seen the debt bubble even come close to bursting yet. And we're seeing a market officially now in a bear market. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is in a bear market. 20% off of its high. And we haven't even, again, touched the debt bubble other than hyperinflating it. And this will continue. The Federal Reserve today made an announcement that they are increasing their repo operations to 175 billion, at least 175 billion per day. I told you at the onset this would not end. I told you at the onset this would get larger, and they're not done. They are not done. It's part of the bigger plan here for the Federal Reserve to continue to inflate, to continue to issue more debt, along with other central banks, hundreds around the world. They're all working in concert now. This is their final solution. You know that. But we could end it. If we had a single world leader with guts and vision, we could end the Fed immediately. Today. Bear with me. I'm going to cover that too. So what I want to do here, people, again, put a perspective on what's going on here. A market finished near the lows of the day, despite the calls for bailouts, multi-industry bailouts, with a lot more industries in line waiting for their bailout. Steve Mnuchin talking about guaranteeing loans to corporate America, multinational companies, most of them on your back. This is a credit default swap. I can't even believe that I'm here saying this, that the United States government is getting involved in a credit default swap with, I guess, whoever asks for assistance here. Would you vote? Let me ask you, if this came up for a vote, would you vote for government loans to multinational corporations? I want you to think about that. I would be willing to bet 90% of you would say no, but you have no say-so here. And the way Steve Mnuchin worded this, guaranteeing loans, if he said guaranteeing losses, a lot of people would probably go to 100%. But because people don't understand what they're looking at or hearing, that this is literally a credit default swap on an epic scale, well, again, they're all being kept in the dark by design. They're dumbed down, not you. The vast majority of the American citizens are just, they have no clue at all. But they are watching their investment plans, their 401ks get legally transferred from themselves right up the food chain to the one percenters, or the people that know how to take advantage of this market. Yours truly, one of those people. All right, look, so let me go over this with you people. I'm going to give you kind of a blow-by-blow here, and I think you're going to find something exceedingly interesting. All right, give me a moment here. So right off the bat this morning, we got a warning from Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, the bull market will end soon. Well, guess what? It ended today, officially, after 11 years. And Goldman Sachs, okay, this is not me, okay? Some people get confused. I'm telling you what Goldman Sachs is saying. Goldman Sachs is saying you should expect stocks to fall another 15% from here. Where they're pulling that 15% out of, I have no idea. 15% more of this market will not put us anywhere near fair value, anywhere whatsoever. We could fall much, much more than that. Okay. Again, I did a poll on this. Are public bailouts of multinational industries and corporations a good idea? Not only are these public bailouts, but again, Mnuchin's talking about credit default swaps guaranteeing losses. Do you think that's a good idea? We got inflation numbers today. I'm sure most of you them are aware of that. They're trying to tell us there's no inflation. But again here, you have to remember the fake narrative. They're going to tell you there's no inflation despite their own numbers saying that we are seeing inflation. And not only are we seeing inflation, but I just went shopping the other day and I'm looking at the stuff going, how much smaller can they make a package of cookies? How much smaller can they make anything and keep the prices the same? Well, they're going higher. They're hiding the inflation. You understand? Shrinkflation. Now, again, U.S. consumer prices unexpectedly rise. Unexpectedly rise in February. And then they're telling you there's no inflation. You can't make this stuff up. Now, Steve Mnuchin this morning when he came out, before he announced government loans to these corporations, said economic stimulus is on its way and it will come in phases. And the first phase should be expected very soon. Where did phase 2 of the trade war, the trade deal that never was? Phase 1 was a con job. Phase 2 has never happened. It's incredible. But again, that's going to come in phases as well. Let's move forward here. Again, as an American citizen, would you vote for U.S. government-backed loan guarantees for corporations? And if you would back that, if you think that Mnuchin's got it right here, that the United States government should provide guaranteed loans, in other words, they can't lose, to these multinational corporations, I want to know why. Why do you think a credit default swap on your back, on your children's back, on the back of America, our country that is dying, is a good idea? I really want to know that. It's totally twisted in my view here. By the government guaranteeing a corporate loan, it becomes a credit default swap. The same situation that brought Lehman Brothers down and led the world economy into the last financial crisis. And Steve Mnuchin, Steve, you're out there? You're well aware of that. But you have got to lie to the people, don't you? It's unbelievable what we're seeing here. And this puts another meltdown right on the back of American citizens. We always lose. People, and I wrote this earlier, I'm going to say it again. You know what? I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm not going to do it. Revolution. Okay? I'm already getting all kinds of threats. I get threats of harm and death threats pretty much every month, sometimes multiple. So I asked earlier today on my Twitter feed, I said, who's going to carry the flag? I want one of you to carry the flag if they decide to, get rid of me. Because I'm making a lot of noise out here. I'm exposing things that you don't learn in school. I'm exposing things that I think is a real threat to the establishment. They don't like me, and that's fine. I won't stop. And again, all you need to know is you are being lied to, people, and misled on an epic scale. Nothing you're seeing here is by accident. There is no such thing as a black swan. So if you think this virus issue is a black swan, you're wrong. It's deliberate. It's 100% deliberate. Unbelievable. I want to go over this again because I want it to sink in your head. Look how an agenda is hidden. Mnuchin said the U.S. government will guarantee corporate loans. If he said the U.S. government is going to guarantee corporate losses, people will be up in arms. By definition, this is a credit default swap on your back. It's freaking nuts. It's absolutely crazy. And here, I'm going to talk about the Fed, and I'm going to read this verbatim. In my opinion, the Fed has already decided to bring rates down to negative. The only question is how fast they're going to do it. Zero or negative rates will help the Fed become the lender and buyer of last resort, fulfilling a multiple decade plan to own it all. So again, in my opinion, this is going to happen sooner than later. There's no doubt about it. Multiple cuts are coming. This virus gives the Fed and other central banks the green light to fulfill their destiny, which they've already done, to become the lenders and buyers of last resort to own the world. Sounds like a conspiracy theory? It's not. It's really happening. It's really happening, people. It's unbelievable. We're all slaves. The United States is the biggest debtor nation in the history of the world. Well, who owns all the capital or the digital, non-existent, not on the elemental chart bills that we apparently have borrowed? Well, the Federal Reserve owns it all. So they own the United States of America, and if you're in debt, they own you as well. Try not to pay them, and you see how fast you get police at your door, you're thrown out of your house, they take your car, they garnish your pay, whatever they got to do, they will get paid. They're going to suck it right out of your skull, like I said earlier. Again, the Fed, let me talk about the Fed's repo. Okay, we obviously know they just increased it to a minimum of 175 billion per day. The Fed repo has now exceeded the entirety of the TARP program, TARP, which was instituted during the financial crisis, multiple fold, and more is coming. You think that's by accident? Also by design. Now, what I want to do here, people, you know what, I'm going to get to that in a second. Bear with me. I already covered this. If stocks close near the low of the day, which they did, and I wrote this much earlier in the day, expect much deeper losses. I'm not saying this market won't bounce tomorrow, but a bounce tomorrow, in my opinion, the way we just plunged today, is bearish. It's bearish. Nothing goes down in a straight line. Down, up. Down, up. That's how the market works. And again, this was on CNBC, all over the place. Dow officially hits a bear market. So we made history. And not in a good way. Now I want to talk about this. President Trump today met or is meeting with the CEOs of the Wall Street banks. Brian Moynihan of Bank of America, Michael Corbat of Citigroup, Charles Scharf of Wells Fargo, David Solomon of Goldman Sachs. These are the same banks that run the Fed. Now let me ask you, we have a president now meeting with the CEOs of Wall Street banks. We have a Federal Reserve that's gone hyper-nuclear. We have unbelievably suppressed rates. We have a Fed pumping the debt market. We have bailouts. The President spoke about this yesterday and today on the back of the American people. And we have guaranteed government loans. Doesn't this sound exactly like 2008? Because it is. It's a repeat performance of 2008. Everything you're seeing. But this is much worse. You have to understand why it's much worse. In 2008, we bailed out the banks. The setup here is that the United States and other developed nations around the world are going to need a bailout themselves. And who's going to be more than happy to supply the funds for that bailout? Their central bank. People, this is a multi-decade plan that's been in effect since the inception of central banking. When the Federal Reserve was created, they had one plan and one goal: to be the lender and buyer of last resort, to own an entire nation. To own a nation. And that is what they have done. That's why they have won. They own a nation. Now let me go over this with you real quick because I think it's time. How could let me get out of this right now because I'm getting sick of reading all this nonsense. One more thing. This is important. And this is me. If anyone or anything were to get in the way of the multi-decade plan of the Federal Reserve, they would be eliminated. The enforcement arm of the Federal Reserve is the military might of the U.S. Armed Forces, hence the petrodollar. They will and have already fulfilled their destiny. And again, just like I said, people, just like I said, this plan has been going on for many, many decades. The central banks, believe me, this has all been well thought out, figured by establishing a debt-based economic model, they would create, over time, nations who become slaves to them, and their populace would become slaves to them. That's exactly what they have done. Now, this is a piece I wrote earlier about how to KILL the Fed. Okay? You got what I just said? How to end the Fed. Okay? You can't use these kinds of words or you will get hit here. And these are algorithmic words that they catch you on. And I'm already on so many watch lists, it's not even funny. I want you to pay attention to this. This is how the President of the United States today immediately could end the Fed and take away their power. Okay. Let me ask you, how does the Federal Reserve have power? Where do they get it from? It's very simple. In their ability to issue debt. the more debt they issue, the exponentially stronger they become. The Federal Reserve, and why I'm focusing on the Fed, is because they have the world's reserve currency, the US dollar. Okay. Now, I'm going to read this to you, okay? And I don't want to offend anyone here, but I want you to think about what I'm saying. As long as the Fed is allowed to and called upon to issue more debt, they will get exponentially stronger. The only way to win here is if we had a president with guts and vision. I am not putting down President Trump. Everyone before him has done the same thing. But I'm just talking about a president. Okay, a president of the United States. I put POTUS here. I did not put President Trump, so I'm not trying to offend you. Start from the beginning. As long as the Fed is allowed to and called upon to issue more debt, they will get exponentially stronger. The only way to win here is if we had a president, any president, with guts and vision. What he would need to do, number one, is declare the Federal Reserve to be a public enemy, a criminal organization, something that would allow him to stop the Fed from what they're doing. That is issuing more debt. I am more than certain that the president could find a reason to say we have to stop allowing the Fed from issuing even a single dollar of more debt. Declare them a public nuisance. I don't know what he can do, but he needs to find a way to use an executive order to stop the Fed from issuing one more dollar of debt. The president needs to forbid the Fed right now from issuing any more debt, not even a single dollar. The power of the Fed exists in one thing, people. One, their ability to issue more debt. This is me again. You will KILL the Fed immediately by disallowing them to issue a single more dollar of debt. I hope that makes sense to you. I really do. We don't need some big convoluted plan, and the plan's not going to work. You can't bankrupt the Fed. It's an impossibility. They're not going to issue in a gold standard there's just no way. We have killed millions of people, millions, to establish a fiat monetary system and the petrodollar. No one man can do this. He would be taken out immediately. We have to find a way. The president, a president, it's not going to be this guy, unfortunately. I wish it would be. Because he can do it now. Find a way to declare the Federal Reserve a public enemy, a public nuisance, not in public interest. If the president can say the Federal Reserve does not have the public interest in mind and say, that's it, by executive order, we are going to stop them from issuing a single dollar more debt, well, of course, we would have to replace that system with something. How about at that point, once we literally eliminate the Fed, a sound money system run by we the people, not a private institution? He could do it today, people. Again, declare the Federal Reserve to be a public nuisance, not having the public interest in mind, stop them from issuing debt. Calls for more debt, calls for negative rates is going to make the Fed stronger than they are now. Stronger than they are now. Again, there's a lot of YouTube channels who don't understand the markets. They don't understand central banking, and they have a lot of followers that believe that what they're saying is true, that the president is going to end the Fed, that he wants to end the Fed. If he really did, he could do it now. There's no need to wait. But it won't happen. It will not happen. And why? They've won already. The Federal Reserve and central banks around the world, there are hundreds of them, have a stranglehold on the entire world and every single citizen. It's an incredible thing. They have every angle that you can think about covered. They cannot lose. And they have the United States military backing them. It's an incredible situation. And we are stuck with it for now. And we're also stuck with bailouts. We're stuck with government loans, guaranteed government loans, Steve Mnuchin today. How do you feel about these things? I really think you should ponder this video and what I said about how we could end the Fed now, today, and how it will never happen. So stop the pipe dream. Stop the hope. You've lost. You've 100% lost. We allowed this to happen. And by not speaking out against the bailouts, against Steve Mnuchin's plan about guaranteed government loans, a credit default swap on your back, by not speaking out against these things, you're part of the problem. You become part of the problem, not the solution. What we need, and who I want here in this blog, is people who have a solution, not sheep being marched to the slaughter, believing the propaganda, believing the lies, the falsehoods. It's incredible. It really, really is. And the people here, not just in America, this is a global thing, are watching their hard-earned cash disappear as of late. I warned all of you. I was the first guy. Look, check my video blog. Look at my videos. Warning after warning after warning. Before it happened, the week before this started, I warned everybody. Let me ask you, those other YouTube channels that claim that there's some bigger plan going on, did they warn you? Did one of them tell you that you should get out of this market? Did one of them tell you they pulled their cash out of the market before all of this happened? Did they warn you whatsoever immediately before it happened? The answer is very clear. It's no. So you want to trust these people? You want to believe what they're saying? Or do you want to listen to a guy who told you exactly what would happen immediately before it did? And not only that, who has been preparing you for what we're seeing now for over a decade. Let me know. All right. Love you a lot. Please share the video. Wow. See you tomorrow.